In this video, I want to give you a good foundation for simplifying trigonometric identities. So we're going to go over a easy, a medium, a hard of just some fundamental identities that you need to know. So therefore, when you start actually simplifying and verifying those more complicated ones, you can always refer back to these foundational principles to help you simplify your trigonometric identity. So let's go through the first one. What we're trying to do when we're simplifying our trigonometric identity is we're trying to rewrite it either as a single number or a single trigonometric function. So you can see in this case, we have a sine of x divided by a cosine of x. Now, in this case, the reason why this one's so simple is hopefully you recognize this is actually a trigonometric identity called the quotient identity. So if you look at like a formula sheet, and if you don't have a formula sheet, you can go ahead and download the one I have for you down below. It's completely free, but it's a good kind of review of all the basic identities you need to know. And this is one you definitely need to know. So the sine of x over cosine of x can be simplified simply just to the tangent of x, because tangent is represented as sine of x over cosine of x. That is what we call the quotient identity. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have simplified this trigonometric identity. All right, let's go to one that is going to be a little bit more difficult, right? In this case, we have a tangent of x over a sine of x. Now remember, we just talked about tangent of x can be represented as sine of x over a cosine of x. I'm going to go through that process. I'm going to do that again because I recognize here I have a sine of x. And a lot of times when we're trying to simplify things, one thing we're doing with trigonometric identities is, we're using our identities to rewrite our functions. But a lot of times what we're looking for is the exact same function in the numerator as well as in the denominator. So therefore we can apply the division property, which is going to divide those terms to 1. So in this case, if I rewrite tangent as a sine of x over a cosine of x, and that's going to be all divided by a sine of x. Now, again, you see a sine of x in the numerator, sine of x in the denominator, but we just can't simply divide them out, right? What we got to do is we have too many fraction bars. We got to get rid of our fraction bars. So how can we do that? Well, the best way I like to teach my students is to think of this denominator or think of sine of x as actually a fraction. We can rewrite it as sine of x over 1. Now, if I wanted to get rid of this in my denominator, how can we just get rid of a sine of x? Well, that's kind of like a question. We're never really going to get rid of it, but what we can do is we can make it to 1. And divided by 1 is really just a redundant term, right? If I have 8 divided by 1, that is just 8. So how can I get sine of x to be equal to 1? What can I multiply it by that would produce 1? And hopefully you think about it, if you think of fractions, what can I multiply by 1/2 to get 1? Well, that would be what we call the reciprocal, which is 2, or 2 over 1, right? So then what is the reciprocal of sine of x? Well, you can think about it as a 1 over a sine of x, which is also the reciprocal identity of cosecant of x. But I'm going to rewrite it in this term. But it's also very important. Whenever we multiply a fraction, if we're going to multiply something in the denominator, we have to multiply it also in the numerator to produce what we have, or what we call equivalent fractions, right? 1/2 is equivalent to 3 over 6. So whenever you're multiplying a fraction by a number or a term in the denominator, just make sure you do it in the numerator. So now I'm going to multiply by 1 over a sine of x in the numerator as well. So now this whole thing, this blob, is now just going to go to 1. And again, divided by 1, we can now just focus here on our numerator. So now I have a sine of x over a cosine of x times a 1 over a sine of x. Now here's the important thing. We have a sine of x in the numerator. We have a sine of x in our denominator. But all of our terms, ladies and gentlemen, are being separated by multiplication. Right? I can rewrite this as a sine of x times 1, or really just sine of x, divided by a cosine of x times a sine of x. So we can only apply the division property when we have our terms separated by multiplication. It does not work for addition and subtraction. But since we have multiplication, I can divide those out to 1. I'm now left with a 1 divided by cosecant of x, or cosine of x. Now again, you could say that is a 1 function, so it's technically simplified. But again, we really don't want to be dealing with fractions. So we want to say, well, can I simplify this any further? How can I rewrite 1 over cosine of x? And that can be simplified using the reciprocal identity as secant of x. And the last example is we're going to have a cosecant squared of x divided by a secant squared of x. Now, again, I'm going to consider these to be a little hard because a lot of students will get confused on when we start doing trigonometric functions squared. But just remember, ladies and gentlemen, cosecant squared of x, all that really simply means is cosecant of x times a cosecant of x, right? So it's basically cosecant of x times a cosecant of x. And you could rewrite that as cosecant of x squared, and that's totally fine. But again, that's adding parentheses. So what we like to do is just say, we'll just put the squared right next to our trigonometric function and then have our x as the argument, okay? But do not write it like this because this gets confusing. Cosecant of x squared. We don't want to write that because what that's saying is our argument is now being squared, okay? So when I look at this problem, I have a cosecant of x times cosecant of x divided by secant of x times a secant of x. All right. Now again, just like we did with, cosine, I can rewrite that as secant. So even if though this is cosecant squared, I can still rewrite that as the reciprocal identity squared. So therefore, that's going to be a 1 over a sine squared of x. And then secant, we know that's cosine, so I can rewrite that as 1 over a cosecant squared of x. Now again, going with our idea here, we have a fraction divided by fraction. If I want to get rid of this, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 1 over cosine of x that's technically secant, is really just cosine squared of x, right? Now make sure you're squaring it though, right? Because cosine would not divide out with cosine squared. So it's got to be a cosine squared. And then in this case, we're going to have a cosine squared of x. Now again, think of these all as in their little numerator over here. Now, when I multiply this straight across, I'm going to get a cosine squared of x divided by a sine squared of x. Now, unfortunately, our terms don't divide out. But if we remember our quotient identities that we talked about, that you need to know that if you have not downloaded the sheet, make sure you go and download it now. This is going to represent the cotangent of x. But again, our terms are squared, so this is the cotangent squared of x. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know probably some of you have already probably added in the chat, Ms. McLogan, these were so easy. Well, don't worry. If you want some more examples of more difficult problems, or even me going through some easy, medium, hard of even more problems for simplifying and verifying trigonometric identities, then I have that video coming up for you next, as well as multiple examples in the description down below. Hope you enjoy. Cheers.